Hello everyone, welcome to our three-part series on effective communication. Right now we're going to be dealing with part 1. So I'm going to tell you in a little bit what all these three different parts are about. But before we continue, should we not understand what communication is? So what is communication? Well, communication is that which helps us to bridge the gap and connect better with others. See, we know that man is not an island, right? We live in societies, we live with other people. In fact, our smallest unit is the family. Then further than that, apart from the family, we go to school, we go to college, we, have jobs. So we're constantly surrounded by people. And because we are surrounded by people, communication becomes very important. Communication is a skill that is very important in building that pakka sort of relationship, in getting our message across to the other person. So communication is very, very important. Now, communication can be of various types. The two main types of communication are verbal communication, which is all about words, right? And non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication includes body language and voice and tonality. But today, I'm not going to be discussing body language and voice and tonality. I will be doing body language in part 2 and I will be doing voice and tonality in part 3, and this will make up our three-part communication series. Today, we're going to be focusing on verbal communication, right? Now, talking about communication, like I said, communication is a skill, right? I have a lot of people coming and telling me, ma'am, my communication skills are not good. I'm never able to say exactly what I want. I really want to build this. So I'm saying relax. Like any other skill, communication is a skill that can be learned, and the more we practice, the better we're going to get at it, right? So the aim of this particular series is for us to first of all be aware that what are the different things that go into communication, and once we are aware of the different aspects of communication, the different components of communication, we will be able to practice this and get better and better, right? Okay, so learning is going to be fun over here. Like I said, we're talking about two different types of communication, verbal and non-verbal. Today, we're going to be dealing with verbal communication. So, let's understand what are the various components of verbal communication. We have three components over here, as we can see. We have speech, we have language, and we have vocabulary. Let's understand what each of these are about. Let's talk about speech first. What is speech? Speech is basically bolna. We're talking, right? Even in your cartoons, whenever you have cartoon comics or whatever, you see a speech bubble that is made over there, right? With somebody's dialogues written over there. So basically, we're speaking, we are using words, and this is speech. Speech is important because it helps us to get the message across to another person, right? So it's basically all about speaking and it's all about words. Again, I have a lot of people that come and tell me, ma'am, my speech is not very clear. I think I'm very soft. And some people say, ma'am, I think I'm too loud. I've seen my friends, cover their ears when I'm talking. So I'm saying, again, speech is a skill that can be practiced. If you know that you're too loud, practice speaking softly. If you know that you're too soft, practice speaking loudly. Stand in front of the mirror and basically pronounce your words loudly and clearly. Make sure that there is a pause between each of your words so that your words come out clearly. Your speech comes out clearly and it doesn't sound like you have marbles in your mouth. Did you understand what I said? I said it doesn't sound like you have marbles in your mouth. So practice speaking clearly and your speech will improve, right? Okay. Second component is language. Now, what is language? Language is very simple. Language is bhasha. It's basically a system of communication that varies between different countries, different geographies, different states. Now, for example, if you take a country like India, India is such a vast country. We've got so many states, right? And each state has its own different language. And so we have so many different languages. And in fact, depending on the area that you have, the language changes, the dialect also changes. So language is very, very important, and it is very important to communicate to another person in the language that they understand. So for example, let's say that you go to Italy, okay, and you want a pizza, but you go and ask for a pizza in Japanese. Now, will that Italian person over there understand Japanese? Maybe yes, if he knows the language, but most probably not because he knows Italian, right? So it is very important to communicate in the language that the other person knows. So for example, if you're traveling to a new country, what I tend to do is I always try and do a little bit of research, or I, find out about basic words that will help me to get by. So for example, words like please or thank you or where is the restroom, please? All these are things that are very important, right? And it'll help me to get my message across better in that person's language, and it'll help that person to understand me better. So learning the language when you're going to a new place, at least basic words, is very, very important. And supposing you need something that is more long term, supposing you've shifted to a new place completely, it's a good idea for you to learn the language of that particular region. Again, for example, I'm primarily from Mumbai, but now I'm living in Bangalore. Now the language over here is Kannada. So what am I trying to do? Salpa I'm trying to learn, which means little I'm trying to learn so that I can go ahead and put my message across. Basic things. If I'm going to a shop and I want to buy something, it helps me to get my message across. If I'm sitting in a taxi and I want to go somewhere, it helps me get my message across. And the person who's listening to me, they understand too. Right? So speech is the act of speaking. Language is a system of communication that varies from geography to geography. Right? Now, what exactly is vocabulary? Vocabulary is basically words or phrases that are used in a particular language. So every language will have its own vocabulary, right? Now, how can you become better at vocabulary? Well, it's a good idea for you to keep practicing the language. The stronger your language becomes, that particular language, your vocabulary will also start improving. And this is actually a skill that you can go ahead and improve. Read newspapers in the place that you are in. Pick up, different articles. Read as much information as you can and try and, pick up the small nuances of the language, the words that can be used for different things. So for example, if you take English, right? Happy. What does happy mean? Happy means happy, I'm happy. But that's very simple, right? Other words for happy are I'm ecstatic or I'm elated. Now, what have I said over here? I've basically used 2 or 3 different words for happy. How have I come across these 2 or 3 different words? By doing a little bit of study, by doing a little bit of research. And what happens then? My language starts sounding much, much better, right? So we've discussed 3 different components, which is speech, language, and vocabulary. Now, why is verbal communication so important? Well, it's important because, like I said, communication is about helping us to get our message across. So in that sense, verbal communication, the better our verbal communication is, the better our message will get across. And the better our message gets across, the more the person in front of us is going to understand. And the more the person in front of us is, if they're going to understand, that makes a better connect. And that is how communication bridges gaps between people. Now, this is part 1 of our effective communication series. We're going to come to you with part 2 very soon, which is on body language, so stay tuned. In the meantime, you know that on the 6 to 8 channel, we've done a lot of sessions for you. We've done strategy sessions, we've done concept building sessions, practice sessions. So much masti, so much maza. Where are all these sessions? You will find all these sessions in the link in the description box. So go ahead, click on the link, access all the wonderful stuff that we've done for you, visit it, revisit it, and definitely, like I always say on both the channels, 6 to 8 as well as 9 and 10, like, share, and subscribe, because apart from the stuff that we've already done, we've got a lot of more really exciting stuff coming up for you. So like, share, and subscribe. And I'm going to see you soon. Bye-bye.